if you're not going to join my club, why don't I just pop the AI bubble? But seriously, this is something that I've been thinking about for a couple of months now, and I thought anybody who would want to join my club might be interested in hearing about it. So here we go. So I'm transitioning to doing more low effort content because I'm not getting paid. I'm not trying to get famous or viral. All I'm interested in is hanging out with people that I like and talking about stuff I like. So that's what we're going to do today. Don't mind me if I read off my phone a little bit. Back last year when I was in the middle of writing the book that I'm still writing, I stumbled across 100-page-ish research summary of what we know about working memory or short-term memory. Working memory is basically what you remember for the first few minutes after something happens before it transitions into long-term memory, like what you'll remember the next day. So this was 100% a tangent to what I was doing, but you got to live a little. So I just, I read it. I read the whole thing, and it was fascinating. I was really excited about it because it seemed to explain a lot of what I had learned over the years about what makes what makes language learning easier or faster. But that's not what we're going to talk about today. Today, we're going to talk about its implications for AI. To give it a very quick summary, and I'm going to have to read off of this because it's not super easy. In the brain, there are these things called engrams. They're basically collections of neurons that represent a certain thing. For example, you might have an engram that represents a dog, or an engram that represents a swing. You get the idea. Over time, the brain has experiences. Those experiences, the sensory experiences, what you're thinking in your head, activates a certain pathway of neurons in your brain. And over time, those short-term memories get pruned off into smaller and smaller engrams, collections of neurons. And this process is what leads your brain to become more efficient and learn and think abstractly. It's responsible for creating schemas like movement. Like you learn to grab things, it's the same sort of thing. Like you learn to take all these complicated movements as a baby, and then over time, your brain trims them down to what's essential, making it easier to grab once they're toddlers. And while I was really excited about the implications for language learning, today we're going to talk about its implications for AI and how this might pop the AI bubble. So, as I understood it at the time, large language models are like a big table of weighted numbers that if you put more numbers through it, it spits out more numbers. But it's all organized and it predicts what the next information would be, right? So hear me out. What if engrams are like the weights in an LLM? The other thing I realized thinking about AI and thinking about brains was that AIs, as I understood them, their weights don't change. It's like as if you have your brain right now, but then you never learn anything ever again. You have what you know now to process the situation, but as soon as the conversation is over, you start fresh. I don't know if anybody's seen the movie Memento. So I envision current LLMs to be something like that. Or at least that in last year, things have changed a lot. Anyway, that got me to thinking, what if the limitation with current AIs is the fact that it can't continually learn? The way I understood it is that an AI is trained, then it's like a person who can't learn anything. So then whatever you do in the conversation, it doesn't really evolve because of that. Okay, so what follows is based off of a conversation that I had with Gemini. So the warning is this is not all factual. I don't really have citations for half of this stuff. I did look through a lot of the claims and just briefly look them up, and they seem fairly credible. I'm telling you this because based off of what I read in that 100-page article about short-term memory, it seemed plausible. And I think I hope if there's an AI engineer there in the comments, please, not in the comments, make a video. If there's an AI engineer out there that wants to verify this stuff, put their reputation on the line and confirm or deny, I would be more than happy to receive the criticisms or the clarifications. So buckle in, y'all. This is going to get a little technical. So Gemini confirmed that AI indeed has these problems. It doesn't update its, like the human mind updates its knowledge with every experience on a continual basis, and even more through sleep. AIs don't. They generally update through more training. Additionally, the human brain is way more efficient because of this engram system, where certain collections of neurons or weights are firing as a result of things instead of the whole system. AIs, at least as when I learned about them, most of the data would go through every single weight to give you an output. And this would cause something called catastrophic forgetting, I think. I don't remember. AI engineers, you can correct me. Where training based off of new data could sometimes erode previous skills. So to summarize, AIs are much less efficient. They waste tons of power by activating all the weights. And two, their lack of specificity is a huge weakness. So then I, of course, asked if AI engineers have been doing something about it, and of course they have. So there are things like using smaller models that are trained for specific tasks and having a larger model that'll distribute. So that's almost like the engram system. There are also attempts at making it so the one single model only activates certain weights depending on its analysis of the task. So that's a lot closer to what we're thinking about in terms of engrams in the brain. But there remain some huge challenges. So then I was thinking, like, if AIs are already doing this stuff like the brain, why isn't it working? And so it came to me, well, maybe it has to do with the resolution of everything, of the weights and the data. The human brain is unbelievably complex. There are several different kinds of neurons. Each of those neurons behave depending on hundreds of different kinds of neurotransmitters and the amount that there are within, the specific area where that neuron is. And then the neurons obviously can connect to each other through many, many different branches. So the amount of factors that goes into firing a neuron are so precise that I can't imagine an 8 to 10 bit number that is what the weights in an AI LLM consist of could possibly reach that sort of granularity. On top of that, the human mind receives way more detailed data. The human eye is capable of detecting millions and millions of colors in a range of light that no camera that I know of is capable of capturing all at once. The brain also does like extra processing to get more information out of the eye's data. It learns to compare sizes across distances, and all these sorts of computational things the brain does leads to a series of optical illusions that you may have seen if you've ever gone to one of those museums. On top of that, hearing is capable of detecting changes in audio on the order of thousandths of a second. Well, I guess AIs probably have something. I think microphones are a lot more comparable to human ears, but you get my drift. The human brain is receiving a rich amount of sensory data constantly for years, and AI is very limited in the sorts of data it can receive. So in summary again, the resolution of AI is very weak compared to the resolution of the human brain, both in how it processes the information and the sorts of information it receives. Besides working on efficiency, there have also been strides in being able to update the models regularly instead of just at training. So in the case of like multiple models where they have specialized models that are distributed by a controller model or whatever, so what they do is with the smaller models, they they do some like pruning to make it efficient, and then they integrate it into the larger model. So stuff like that have brought AIs a long way in increasing their performance. But just like there are issues with resolution in processing and receiving data, the resolution at which they update their internal weights is also incredibly impaired compared to the human brain. So then the next question was, is there hope for AIs to possibly catch up to the level of precision and speed for learning that the human brain has? And the AI said there was, but what would be necessary are some serious upgrades to hardware. But even though that seems pretty grim for artificial intelligence growth, people have thought of solutions. So right now, AI engineers are trying to put bandages on this problem of just hardware inefficiency. AI engineers are doing what they can with software to work with the limitations we have. Since their weights are so low resolution compared to the brains, AIs require massive amounts of data to start producing quality output. But there are already engineers working on making hardware that can solve these problems. The most promising, I think, of those advances would be something called memristors, so memory resistors. So what they are, they're like little circuit units that contain a variable voltage, which changes as current passes through the grid of memristors. And so this promises to improve AI and make them more like neurons in two ways. One, all the units are more independent. Two, they increase the electrical efficiency of the chip, because most of the electricity burned in a chip is just transferring information from the processor to the memory within a GPU. So by eliminating that process and making the computations happen locally within the memory units, you would just avoid a lot of that waste. So it's more efficient because it's more local and has less just passing current for no reason. But lastly, having variable states within the memory holds the promise of updating weights in real time, just like the human brain does. So this is probably what would be necessary to get AGI if we were to ever get it. And it's just a burgeoning technology. I think companies like Intel, and then there was some other company that were working on these chips. It's kind of old news that I think that people have been working on these chips, but I don't think people understand exactly how much of a bottleneck current GPUs are. This is where the AI bubble should pop. Creating chips, good chips that can do that stuff at scale, takes years. Everybody knows this. Whenever you're trying to build something new, you need a whole supply chain of parts that you have to build from scratch. And so for AIs to even come close, so even if we had these chips, even if we had these super chips that were way more efficient and computed AI like neurons do, there's no telling that would even be the key to unlock general artificial intelligence or even human level intelligence. However, it's the best bet and it's still years away. So why is everybody invested all their money into NVIDIA and these other AI companies when really these companies are putting band-aids right now and trying to sacrifice the environment for it? Why AI bubble when if people know this, which I'm sure the AI companies know this, why are they, well, I already know why. They're just trying to prop up the economy because it's too late to turn back. But now that you know, you can pressure them to stop building data centers because that shit is useless. just adding more GPUs and expending more energy is not going to solve the issue of reaching the next order of magnitude. So I just wanted to tell you all about that. If there are AI engineers in the comments that would like to fact check me and, you know, yeah, okay. I think that's all I got. Good luck, y'all. Thanks for watching.